and welcome to another episode of FTU Life After the Military. I'm your host, Tony Rodriguez. It's a beautiful Saturday here in North Carolina. I'm assuming everywhere else in the United States. And today I have the honor and the privilege of being joined by Tim. Tim and I were in the 82nd, what was it, about 18 years ago?
Yeah, about that.
And I think that's the last time we spoke too. I tracked him down on LinkedIn. Chris, he was on here earlier in I think like episode 7. It's titled Chris from the 82nd. We're friends. Tim is friends with Chris and reached out and see if Tim would come on here and just talk about how he transitioned out of the military and anything that's on his mind. So Tim, I'm going to pass it on over to you.
Thanks for having me, first off. Honored that you would ask me. Where to start? I enlisted in the Army in May of 2000. Went to Fort Moore, used before running. I keep track.
Yeah, so before we go on, do you know where FTU comes from?
Actually, I don't. I was going to ask you about that.
So FTU is fat, tired, and useless.
Okay.
And I got it from Fort Benning at basic training. You know the little test that you get when you showed up to reception?
Yes.
The little PT test. I remember doing that, right? 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, and the mile run in 5 hours, whatever they give you to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I remember doing the push-ups and the sit-ups, and I could hear the drill sergeants, well, got another one for FTU. It's like, okay. And then this kid, both the push-ups and the sit-ups, he had problems, right? And it's like, you're 2 for 2. It looks like you're pretty close to batting 100 or 1,000 here, buddy. You're going to FTU. Not knowing anything about the military, I thought it's like, wow, maybe these guys are going to some special program. So it could be like Chuck Norris, you know?
Super soldiers.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was for. It wasn't until week 7 of basic training that drill sergeant said, no, FTU stands for fat, tired, and useless. That's how some of you show up. It's like, oh, okay. And so that's where it comes from.
Okay. I remember that. And I remember, so before I joined the Army, I was a slug. I was a thin slug, but a slug nonetheless. And when I got there, I remember the run portion, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Because, I was a smoker and never having run any distance or previous training, I literally thought I was going to have a heart attack. Because I remember the time they told me how to calculate your heart rate. So I just like, and I remember doing that afterwards. And I'm like, oh, I'm way over max target heart rate. I'm going to die.
Yeah, and I thought FTU was appropriate after I got out of the military because I saw a bunch of my friends who had retired before me, and it's like, bro, you've put on 50 pounds. And not the good 50 pounds. It's like, and I started feeling a little tired because I had so much free time on my hands. And man, I hope I don't start putting on the weight. And so I thought that would be appropriate. You start out with FTU when you come in, and then when you leave, if you're not careful, if you don't have some sort of plan, you might revert back to being FTU.
Going back to FTU.
Yeah.
I joined in May 2000, went to Benning for basic training. Then I went to Redstone Arsenal, or AIT. Like you, I was 27 Echo. I remember in AIT they also trained us on the Dragon, which was nobody was using it anymore, not even reserve guard units. It showed me the film for that simple design. Literally just knock it out of the air with your hand. It was the slowest thing I've ever seen in my life. Spent about 6 months with Redstone for AIT. Then from Maryland to jump school. And back to them in February. This was cold and wet. Then on to Fort Wright. Fort Liberty now, right? I believe it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can ever know it as anything other than Fort Wright.
You know what? For the people who were there, we can call it whatever we want. Just like they renamed the streets, and I'm like, "Hey, you got to go down to this street." It's like, "What?" And they have to tell me, "Go down to Riley." Okay, just tell me what they were called before, because I don't know the new names.
They renamed all the roads too?
O'Reilly's gone. It's not Long Street anymore. If it was a Confederate colonel, general, Confederate officer, the name was changed. It's like,
Oh, that
that's fine. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I just don't know the new names. So tell me what the old name was.
well, yeah, if I ever go back, I'll be completely lost then. What was the Yadkin 500? Is that still there?
Yeah, that's still there. It's actually worse because they extended the 295.
Okay.
So they're trying to actually connect it from the 95, so it goes up to Fort Bragg and then loops back down to the southern part of the 95 past Hope Mills, right? So they're continuing to build it, but now it's just traffic all over the place. It's like as soon as you get on that 295, it's like when you hit the on-ramp, you better be doing 70. Because when you get on the highway, you better be doing 90. It's like, bro, what are we doing?
I feel like that's a progression that's going on everywhere. The freeways here in the Phoenix area, same way. Don't be in the left lane unless you're prepared to go 85. You know?
And I totally understand in Phoenix. However, in a small town like Fayetteville, where are you going? You're shipping out your crystal meth or something? Like you're in that big of a rush to get it to your dealer or wherever it's going? Like, bro, slow down.
Going 35, you can get across Fayetteville in 20 minutes. Yeah.
So it's, but it's, I chose to stay here because I'd much rather be here than go back to California. The big city life, unless it's Washington, D.C., is not for me.
No, I feel it. Like, I live on the outskirts of the city.
Yeah.
I don't live downtown.
So Tim, you deployed to I'm one of those freaks that I only went to Iraq. I went 3 times.
Okay.
Right. But you got the full spectrum. You got to see Afghanistan and Iraq.
I did, yeah. So, a lot of sand, no beaches. Yeah, so I deployed twice with the 82nd. First went to Afghanistan in July of about 6 months ago, 6 months. Came home September, maybe early January. And then we all deployed to Iraq, during the invasion. So we were home for just and then I left active duty. I transitioned to civil life from active duty in July. I stayed there in Fayetteville for probably about 6 months. And then I came back into Phoenix for a little while. I decided that I was gonna, I still had some time left on my IRR contract. And I got worried they were probably going to pull me back off IRR back to active duty. So I was like, well, no, I don't really want to do that. So I opted to join the reserves to get ahead of that. Change the reserve into civil affairs. And then I deployed 3 more times in civil affairs. 2 more times to Iraq and another time to Afghanistan. So 5 civil years. I ended up doing another 8 years. Transition out of Afghanistan.
Wow. Thanks, because going to Iraq 3 times, that was enough. I don't know how you did that many rotations out there.
When I joined the reserves, it was a different animal because civil affairs is such there's not enough people in civil affairs to go around basically. So it's very highly deployed MLS. And, I'm sure even more so on the active duty side. So I had the opportunity to basically, I could volunteer with other units and get temporary past staff and go wherever they had a need was. Both a blessing and it's not like my unit sent out that much. I had an option to go. So, I wasn't a big fan of garrison life in the reserves. Not that there's a whole lot of time there, but I don't think the time is necessarily capitalized the best all the time. And I just figured if I'm going to be in the Army, I might as well be doing my job. So, quote unquote, do my job. So I just get the option to go wherever it is and do it.
So you transitioned, I guess, twice then.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you talk about a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when I transitioned the first time in 2006, they went through the ACAP program. Honestly, in hindsight, I like looking at that, and it really feels like more of a formality. There were some resources available, not nearly as many as there are now. There's a lot of organizations like that now, NGOs, along with other government programs, work on those to help them fight for it, healthcare, and I just, there wasn't as many in 2007. There were some people there, but I didn't take advantage of it. So this is a cautionary tale. Don't do what I did. When I exited 2006, I didn't have a good probably didn't have much to count on. I was just basically ready to be done and move on to whatever the next chapter was going to be. I think when I got out, I had 3 months or so, which was a nice cushion to have for our state of time not feel so I ended up staying in Fayetteville for about 6 months. Oddly enough, I started playing online poker as a job, which was fun at first, but when you do it as a job and you just play in the math, it really kind of cuts off the math and really comes down to what you don't want to do. That was what kind of convinced me to back to school. And I got a job working for an FAA certified repair station for avionics. Which was a great place to work. We were like a small satellite station in the small leveraging what I learned in AIT the first time. Avionics.
Okay. Did you use like any of your GI Bill at all, or the VR&E program? Anything from the VA?
At that point, I hadn't used any of my GI Bill. Yeah, the first one I wanted benefits, I hadn't used any of that yet. And one thing that I will tell transitioning service members to do is make sure you do that type of medical interviews, medical evaluations. Don't let that go. Make sure all of your health stuff is documented before you go out. Because I will tell you from experience that it's 100 times harder to get stuff out. It can be a nightmare dealing with your doctor. In my experience, their default is to deny your claim without even looking at the evidence. Even if you have evidence to support your claim. The first time I submitted any kind of health-related stuff, they would deny first, and then if you come back and appeal it, then they'll actually appeal it. That may not be true for everybody, but that is not. It's still about it, but I'm really it's been a long time. So definitely take care of most of that stuff before you get out.
So it's interesting that you say that, because, yeah, you're right. VAs, it's rough, right? It's rough dealing with them. But on the other side, when I was getting out, I was part of the SFL the ACAP process, is I had to go do the VA meeting, right? And that's the one that you had to be there in person. You couldn't do it virtually. But the only problem is, and why she has the job, I don't know. But she was a retired 92 series sergeant major. Well, what's 92 series? Supply, warehouse supply,
Right.
cooks, riggers, fuelers, right? So I have this lady who retired after 32 years of being in the military telling me, like, I don't know why active duty military people are going to sick call to be evaluated. That doesn't have anything to do with your VA. It's like, you're the biggest idiot on the face of the planet.
Yeah,
It's like
there's no documentation. You have nothing
Yeah.
to back it up with. For sure.
The reason why the VA just said, yeah, here, whatever, you're good, was because I finally, after 20 years, I finally went in to sick call, right? Because I hated going to sick call, because I knew they weren't going to do anything for me. It wasn't until I got pinned E8 that I said, I'm going to go in, because now you're going to deal with me.
Right.
And took a year, but got MRIs on my shoulder and my spine and my hip. And they said, yeah, your shoulders both need to be replaced. Your left hip needs to be replaced. It's a miracle you're not in constant pain from your legs, because your L1 to your S1 is just compressed. It looks like the jelly donut shooting out of the jelly shooting out of a donut. It's like, that's what it looks like. It's like your sciatic nerves are compressed every second of every day. You should be, I don't know how you get out of bed.
Right.
And so, yeah, when the VA saw that, they're like, yeah, we're not going to give you a hard time. Like, just move along, buddy. Don't come back. So,
Yeah, and trying to, prove your claims, and it just takes so much more time to do that, right? Because now you have to go through, doctor's appointments that they schedule for you, but they don't contact you at that time. So it just makes no sense, because they only, like, let's say you have to reschedule an appointment, they only allow you to reschedule it once, even though they'll have 2 or 3 appointments on that ticket. So it's just, yeah, and then it cancels the whole thing out again. So it's just, yeah. I don't know who designed that system, but not
so transition out of the reserves. What's that like? Because I don't know anybody who's done that.
it was, I want to say there's even, again, my experience totally different, probably not everything. It was unceremonious, and there wasn't a whole lot of anything. They didn't even give you the option to go through a medical exit evaluation. Or it was just, all right, I guess you're done. Thanks for stopping by. It was, and part of that might have been me, because I was in six at the time. I had 16 years of enrollment, and I could have retired, 5 or 7 years ago with time in reserves, calendar years and reserves, with active duty time, with merited active duty. But everyone was becoming so risk averse in our combat zone. And it was just, I got tired of people, 10 people who say that if you're going to do the job in the first place, kind of hamstring, like not really letting us do our job at all. It's our job going to those contested areas with this medical and bring those areas back to a higher opinion of the local government. And if we're not going into those areas doing that, then what are we doing? So I kind of got tired of bureaucracy a little bit more, the lack of calculated risk, and that it wasn't really one I was doing. I did get a call from the battalion commander asking me, why I'm sick, about doing some assessment with the shouldn't have told him. I gave him all the information that he was on fire. And he understood he was getting along, but there wasn't a whole lot of support given to our connection. It was just the way it was all the time. And they made me, I didn't, at that point in life, I was rarely established in my life. I didn't really need as much support from them as I used to because being in the reserve, you're still a civilian for most of the time. So I had, but if it was a younger soldier who had, I feel like they could do a better job. And some of that onus is on, would be on your own offenses and children to seek out those people. Because the world doesn't give you love. It doesn't owe you. And you have to be fine if you fail, if you don't fail. So I think a lot of that is on the individual. Go out and search out people. Because they're out there. You have to look at them. Way close now. You really have to research away.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Google. Right? I think it's awesome. And then I found, after the Super Bowl, I saw that commercial for Microsoft for Copilot, the new AI. That thing is awesome because not only does it give you the information, now it gives you the references where it got the information. It's like, I would hate to be a university professor because now you could just write a whole paper and now you have the references right there.
Right, like that combined with like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I haven't. I've never seen it from those. I've read good things about it. Yeah, yeah, so I don't know. I think there are tons of resources out there.
So did you end up using the GI Bill or any education or, like I said, that VRNE? I like that VRNE program because it helps veterans with retraining. The one kick is like you have to not be employed to get into the program. They're not allowed to tell you that, but that's the truth about it. If you have a job, you're not going to get in because the whole point is to help veterans get a job, not get a better job.
Not get a better job? That seems kind of dirty.
Yeah, and it's like, I've tried 2 times, and the lady's like, yeah, like, please stop applying, because I hate telling you no.
That's kind of weird. I mean, I kind of get it. If you want to, I guess put those resources to the veterans who are most in need. But, I have not even heard of that one. I have used my we have education, not all of that stuff. I went to Andrew Little for a little while, with my career path in the fitness field. I'm a technology and science, where I live, research. Yeah, well, that's in the aviation and avionics and aerospace, where I've chosen to work on that. I started off after I finished I was there for about 10 years while I was in the reserves. They were very gracious to let me deploy all those kinds of things. They were very understanding. 90% of the people that worked at that company were all from all. So they wanted so they were able to same time we were so yeah, very supportive, very good. There I went to different companies. contractor for larger tier one defense contractors. They're production. So this is a lot of field service for primary test equipment. So, yeah, the technology sector, I think, are a great place for veterans to transition in the military, especially if you have a clinical background, because employers love veterans. They have usually the work ethic, they show up on time, they will do the right thing when nobody's watching. They know how to work in a variety of different outcomes. That's something that I think goes more with either out of whether it's equipment you have to and if that field is only going to be growing, there's a huge shortage of people for those roles. Specifically, I remember when I was working for my last company, I was trying to hire technicians to repair agents, and nobody shows up to learn that. There's a huge component of that workforce that is getting ready to retire. So we're about to lose tons and tons of people and institutional law knowledge is going to go. So we need young technicians to fill that role and step up because we just don't have stories of aerospace.
Well, yeah, I mean, why would you do something like that that requires a little bit of time and effort? I mean, if you could just be Instagram famous, you know, or
Sure.
TikTok famous.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody wants to be famous. Everyone wants to be Kardashian content creators.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, if you have, you know what? I don't even know. I don't know what it takes to be a TikTok influencer.
I don't know what, I don't even have a TikTok account.
I am not the target audience. I know I am not the target audience.
I also am not target.
So,
Yeah, the whole thing about social media is it's not real. It's curated clips of people's moments in lives designed to grab your attention. And I guarantee that if you follow those people around with a camera for 24 hours straight, it would be very, very boring. And it wouldn't sell anything. So nothing on social media is real. It's curated content designed to be wild. And remember, you're not paying for the product. You are the product.
yeah, it's a good way to look at it. I never thought of it like that.
Places like, every social media. They're selling your attention data to the highest of that. Companies like Robinhood, who is letting the unwashed masses invest in the stock market. Fractional shares and not charging any brokerage fees. Guess what? They're selling that data to the market leaders, market makers, who are trading off your ad, taking more money.
I'm gonna say, so is that why on Facebook I get a bunch of ads for golf clubs and pie?
Probably. Yeah.
There's a lot of pastry ads come up on my Facebook feed.
I do a lot of Taco ads. Yeah, for the same reason. It's scary the way that, they can follow you around the internet and try to sell you stuff. Just put you in your phone, there's something called an advertising ID, where they follow you around the internet. Know where you could do it. That's how you see, what's that you look at a Facebook post about, I don't know, off-road lights for your truck or whatever, and then you're on Google searching for something completely different, and Google alerts you to make an ad for off-road truck lights for your truck. Or something that you've talked about with somebody who's doing the search.
So since we're like down this road, I have to ask you, and I don't care one way or the other, but I'm curious, did you end up getting the COVID vaccination?
I did.
What's your opinion on that?
So I went, so when COVID first happened, COVID was early 2020, right?
Yeah.
before that, I hadn't been sick when it was, and I didn't get sick. I didn't get COVID. Uh, it was, I only got sick for the first time last year. So I went a good, several years, like no flu, nothing like that. Probably because I'm mostly a homebody. I don't, like my wife and I, we're both hanging out at home. We'll go with the stuff like that, but we're not big. We don't have to eat out. When I did get COVID, it was about 4 or 5 months ago, the first time. And honestly, it wasn't that bad. Was that because of the vaccine? Nothing was symptoms? I don't know, maybe. But it felt like, I had a fever for a day. I felt kind of tired. It was really good. And then about, probably about a month after that, I got the flu, which was way worse than COVID. And that put me on my butt for like 2 years. I don't know. The reason I decided to get the vaccine was because my dad is high risk. My dad has cancer. And he has a lot of respiratory issues too. I didn't want to. I would do whatever I could to help mitigate the risk of losing. Especially like now, with my job now, I travel quite a bit, so I'm on airports a lot. And I didn't want to go into elevator risk. I didn't want to, so it was worth it.
Yeah, no. So I was still in when it came when the first vaccines came out, and when I transitioned to civil affairs, I volunteered. I was in civil affairs for like 6 years, and then I volunteered to go to SOCM, right, to be a medic, right. So the Army decided that all medical personnel, they were priority, so they were going to get the first batch. I said, and it was still volunteer. It's like, if you want it, you can get it. If not, don't get it. I said, yeah, I'll get it. Why not? Everybody asked me, why are you getting it? It's like, this is it. This is where I draw the line. It's like, they gave me smallpox.
Right, yeah.
They hit me up with anthrax when it wasn't authorized.
Right.
Nobody seemed to have a problem with anthrax.
It wasn't a choice then. It was you were getting this.
It's like
that was. I didn't understood all the flap that everybody was giving about. Well, I shouldn't have to take it. Like your government operates. When you take that oath and you sign on the dotted line, you don't. The Constitution no longer applies. You don't have freedom of speech. You don't have those services while you're in service.
I had people say, well, they're putting nanites in it and they're tracking you. It's like, well, if they want to track me, they can track me off of my phone. How about the chip that's in my ID, my credit cards, my phone can watch me, my computer.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. I don't really think I'm so important that anybody wants to track me. So if you want to track me, go right ahead. I really don't care. The only problem I had was they said, okay, you need to be at Womack at 3:30 in the morning. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm a master sergeant now. I'm not going anywhere at 3:30 in the morning. It's like, well, you have to. It's like, no, I will not.
No, I don't.
7 o'clock, okay. 3:30, no. So I went a week later and got it.
Right.
At 7:30 in the morning. I was like, yeah, I'll be there at 7:30, not at 3:30. You're insane.
That's crazy. Like, I don't even understand why they would have to look at that room.
They said, that's the only time we can get you guys in. What is it? Everybody dying all of a sudden on Fort Bragg? Like, if that's the case, then who cares about this vaccine?
Right, and it's not working at all.
It's a little late.
Like, does it only work before the sun comes up?
So that was my only issue. It's like, again, if people want to get it, go ahead, get it. If you don't, I don't care. Like, when I was first starting, I had people telling me, it's like, I'm not going to get it. It's like, okay, like, look, you're an adult. If you want to get it, get it. If not, don't get it. I'm not going to get upset, but this is what you have to understand. One, please don't bullshit me and say, well, I've done the research. It's like, were you in a lab? Were you in a lab for the past 6 months? No? Then shut up. You didn't do any research. You just don't want to get it, and that's fine.
by research, do you mean opinions you heard on the internet?
Yeah, and
Talking heads.
but and this is what I told everybody: if you don't want to get it, don't get it. You're an adult, but you're being told you have to get it, or you're not going to deploy. It's like, because the countries that you're going to are requiring it. It's a requirement by the TSOC. So don't come crying that you can't deploy. So people were being sent up to the 3 shop, the S3, or people were being kicked out. It's like, are you going to help me? It's like, I told you I wasn't going to help you. I don't know what part of no you don't understand.
You already made that choice, and you made that choice with informed consent.
Yeah. So it's like, sorry, bud. Pay attention to that SFL tap. I don't know what to tell you.
Have a plan. Have a plan going out.
Yeah. So for me, I started this podcast because I was very pig-headed and very stubborn. I told you when we talked on the phone a couple of days ago that I ended up getting a field grade Article 15 and a general letter of reprimand, right, which is supposed to be a career ender. Right? Everybody that was in civil affairs told me, it's like, you might as well just get out because you'll never get promoted. It's like, why? It's like, well, because you'll never, it's like, well, if the Army has a manual that tells me how to dig a hole in the woods so I can go to the bathroom, and theoretically how to survive a nuclear blast, I think there's a manual that tells me how to overcome these two things.
Probably.
But I was treated like garbage, and that's fine. Maybe I should have been, maybe I shouldn't have been. Whatever, that doesn't matter. But for me, getting out, I saw while in the military, when you do things that are perceived to be good, then it's a team effort and everybody wants to give you credit. They want to take credit for what you did. But if you make a mistake, it's all your fault. You're solely responsible for it. You're a bad person. Okay, so getting out, no, this is all me. The military gets no credit for this. Go away. So I didn't use any of the programs, and hindsight, some of my pig-headedness probably cost me a little bit. So I just want to make sure that guys know, like, hey man, I understand that you're upset, but the Honors Foundation, I've heard really good things about that. What's that other one? SODIF, you see it on LinkedIn all the time. I forget what it stands for, but you always see that they're helping guys get internships, and then they get hired on from those internships.
Right.
So
yeah, I think a lot of people, at some point myself included, a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth through whatever reason, justified or not. But just know that if you know the rules, then you can pay the income. And you still have access to all those things.
So we were talking about that, right? So I mentioned it on the last podcast, JoJo and Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Right. JoJo's all right. I just didn't care for him. I know he didn't like me because I joined the military later on in life when I was 26, so he didn't like me for that. It's like, if you're not going to like me, dislike me for being lazy or not being too bright or overthinking things. There are plenty of reasons to dislike me.
Right, sure. No, yeah. I remember at the time when he was our platoon sergeant, I didn't like that guy at all. He was hard. He was a hard ass. And it wasn't until years later when I was put in, I had soldiers under me, that some of the stuff that he did or that you mentioned started to click with me. I was like, oh, now I get it. He was hard. He was a hard ass. And he took things to the extreme as far as he was a fan of the police house. I remember there was a barracks where somebody's room was just god awful. And it didn't matter if the rest of the room was spotless. But he made everybody pull all their crap out on the barracks. Clean top to bottom, even if there was nothing wrong with it, put it back. And you might mean that's a bit hard. But I get it. It wouldn't have been the method that I would choose to go with, but that was his leadership.
Well, and so for me, that was the drill sergeant mentality that he had that he couldn't let go of.
For sure.
And two, and this is so I don't think I told you, but I'm in a PhD program for global leadership.
Okay.
Right? Because I know I'm not a leader. but I want to study leadership so I can understand it better, right? If I was ever a leader, it wasn't because of I could give these great speeches to inspire people. It would be more based off of leading by example. Well, look, that moron could do it, so if he can do it, then I suppose I could do it too, right? Maybe that mentality. What I found is, like JoJo, like Beetlejuice, like I'd say 99% of the people in the military are not leaders. They're managers. Now that's my personal opinion.
No, I would totally agree with that. I would totally agree
And
with that.
and there's nothing wrong with that. There's like it's a different organization, right?
Yeah.
And you can't have everything up to vote. You need to get things done, right?
Right.
And 18-year me probably would have had a very hard time in the military. So I'm glad I came in when I was 26, because at least I learned how to. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
And there are certain situations where managers fit the bill just fine. Most of that's in a garrison environment. When you're deployed or you're in a hospital area, managers don't have immediate access to it. And that's where I tell people that deployments are like deployments don't change you; they just make you more of who you already are. Like if you're a giant asshole in real life, then you get close to the be a little asshole. That's stressful. Which is amplified for some people that's a good thing, for others it's not. I've had the opportunity to work with all different types of deployment agencies, and I've had some of the worst, but I've also had some of the best. And bad leaders are exponentially worse than good leaders are good, if that makes sense. And having a bad leader, it really sets the tone for everything else. Whatever, it affects everything. It's so hard to recover from something like that.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at what you're saying. When you're hearing those words coming out of your mouth, remind me of the day our tents went up in fire in Iraq.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, everything we own. I remember I was on gate guard when that happened.
Yeah.
And I could see the smoke from the front gate. And it was me and his were up there. He was the sergeant at arms for the gate detail. And he said, "See that smoke?" And I'm looking over there with binoculars and I'm like, "Yeah, that looks like where our tents are." He's like, "No, like tents are?" And we walked back there after day duty. Everything's just a smoldering mess where all our shit used to be at.
Yeah.
All I've got now is what was in my backpack that I took to gate guard. I have nothing. No clothes.
Which I went down to the shop early that day, and I think Quinn went with me too. So we still had our uniforms, right? But I remember it was New Year's Day, right? So it was technically a day off.
That's right.
So people were asleep.
There was a bunch of people in the tents when it happened.
Yeah, so they ran out in the black silkies, their ninja suits.
That's right.
So for the next 4 or 5 days, they're walking around the fob in black silkies.
Yeah. Speaking of bad leadership, that was a direct result of bad leadership. Absolutely. Because I remember, what was it? Because they were like canvas tents, and to weatherproof those canvas tents, they soaked them all in kerosene and let them dry. I'm pretty sure that's what I was told.
Yep.
And then they had local Iraqis come in and install air conditioners and substandard wiring in the side of the tent so we wouldn't die. And there was some spark from the bad wiring that caused one of the tents to start, and then it was just a chain reaction because they were all right next to each other.
I remember that meeting. It's like, we are the electronics platoon. Can we please do the wiring ourselves? No. Okay. 10 days. 10 days is what it lasted.
The whole point was they wanted to move us out of that concrete airplane country that we were on.
Yep.
Because for whatever reason, they wanted to move us out of a hardened structure that could resist mortar impact easily into tent in the open, which, I mean, that sounds like a great idea. I mean, we only take, incoming rocket and mortar fire every few days, whatever. Let's move into tent. Okay. And then they just ended up moving us right back to that bunker they took us out of.
I try to explain to people, and people don't seem to understand this. It's like, being in the 82nd, there was like a hierarchy, right? And we seem to have been in the most hated platoon, in the most hated company, in the most hated battalion, and the most hated brigade of all of the 82nd Airborne Division. Because I remember when we got to the FOB, they didn't have a place for second platoon, the electronics platoon. First platoon and third platoon were taken care of. Well, I don't know where you're going to sleep. It's like, what do you mean, First Sergeant? What do you mean you don't know where we're going to sleep? You're the First Sergeant.
Is that your job to secure us a spot?
So Mark Whitmer was like driving around the FOB trying to find a place for us to stay.
Yeah.
And then Rico Suave and Beetlejuice decide, okay, you guys seem to have figured it out. You guys are being productive. We don't like that. So we're going to pull you up here and you're going to stay in these substandard tents. So we can make your life miserable.
The area. We need you closer. We can't micromanage you if you're up our way. Yeah,
It was hilarious. Looking back on it, it's like, we were more likely to die from our company leadership than anything the Iraqis were sending at us.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I remember standing there with the commander amongst the smoldering ashes where my cot used to be. And I looked over at him and I'm like, well, sir, I'm sure glad we moved out of the bunker. And, I was a youth warden. I had no business talking like that to the company commander. But you know what? He couldn't say shit because I was right.
Yeah.
He had nothing to say because it was an awful decision.
I remember they brought the chaplain over. It's like, we're all standing out there in formation, because, right, you have to have a formation so you can stand and watch your stuff burn.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we're going to bring the chaplain over, so you guys, if anyone wants to talk to the chaplain, it's like, you better go get a whole platoon worth of chaplains, right? Because I have a lot to say.
I have fun.
So, yeah, I mean, I try to tell people I complain a lot because that's who I am. I'm a complainer, right? I don't run from who I am anymore. That's who I am. I'm not the happiest person on the planet. That's just my personality, right? And but I enjoy my time in the military, but I view it as an opportunity because back in California, I was going nowhere fast. And that's not based off of my parents. That's based off of just the environment where I grew up. If you were able to get into college, if you didn't graduate, if you, for whatever reason, then that was your one and only chance. That's how people viewed it. So if you didn't graduate, then you better go get a minimum paying job because that's going to be the rest of your life. So the Army actually helped me open up my mind and view that, I don't have just one chance. I have as many chances as I need. 10,000, a million, whatever. And if I make a mistake, well, okay. So what?
I'm gonna try again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like you saying, I was, like I said, when I was a slug, I didn't really, I didn't have a plan before I joined the Army. And I was a piece of crap. I hadn't made the best decisions in my life on that. I hadn't had long structure. So I knew that. It was good for me to have a structured environment for a while. And it allowed me time to develop and I learned more about myself than anything else. I think people often sell themselves short on what they're able to accomplish because they haven't put people are capable of far more than your mental illness. When you have a need, your body will overcome. And your mind as well. So much of life is mentality. You don't have what it takes. So mental kind of overwhelming enough. And it's easy to lose sight of that. I know I lost my dad. Easy to feel sorry. Just, I know, God, it's easy to fall into that kind of that down spiral of especially with everything that life has to go. Life's hard, especially but it doesn't have to be.
And even if you make the wrong decisions, you can change that. You can make some better decisions.
Absolutely. There's up until the day you retire, you've got another chance.
So you're talking about how you have to be, have the right frame of mind, right? So in this program, they're giving us this opportunity to write a chapter for a published book, right? And the people in my cohort, there's like 6 or 7 of us that are left from the original 12 that started. And I was going to decide that I'm going to write my own chapter. And somebody had the idea, hey, well, let's all work together and we can write a chapter and we can all add our names to it. Of course, the arrogant asshole that I am, first thing out of my mouth was, no. I will have all the glory or no glory at all. Then I thought, well, why am I making my life hard? It's like these are 5 other people who are very intelligent and have knowledge on things that I don't have knowledge of. So why not work together and
combine your experience?
Yeah. What do I care if I'm the last name in the chapter? I still get my name in a book. It's published. Yeah. What do I care? Right. At work, I'm a geopolitical analyst, and we're doing this. A book is being printed out, right? Or they're coming out with a book. They asked if I wanted to do a chapter on cultures of Latin America and from an American perspective. I'm like, yeah, stupid. Like, why would you say anything but yes? People are trying to get published in books.
Right.
And these are being thrown at me. And I'm like, more work to do. Like what was me? That's a first world problem. Like,
right, yeah.
And for me, that was the biggest problem I had transitioning out of the military, was just changing my mentality, because I learned a long time ago in the military that if anybody asks you anything, you just say no automatically.
Right.
Say no because they're going to want you to do something.
Stay clear, don't volunteer.
Yeah. The sham shield, right?
Yeah, the E4 Mafia.
So instead of doing that, why not just say, be the yes man? Yeah, sure, why not? Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to do it. Because both being the yes man and never volunteering for anything, that can swing either way. Or not to swing, but you can miss an opportunity you might not have otherwise had. So I would say selectively. Way the option. And try to think of those second, third order effects. Because you might have to, suck wind doing this task you don't want to do, but 2 steps down the road that's really something. It's hard trying to think like, basically playing chess instead of checkers. Critical thinking is, for me, I think one of the most important skills of a person. Being able to move on and see where something is going to go before you think that helps you in all able to think, if you're able to know how to think instead of having the whole flexible, you're ahead of probably 90% of the time. Because those are skills that are hard to teach. And what someone has said in the way.
No, that's great. We have two different perspectives. Well, not perspectives, but for me, my biggest problem was just stop being an ass. You know.
Oh yeah.
And so here's a little example, right? There was this people come by. I live in this new neighborhood, right? They're still building houses, so people come by because they're constantly trying to sell stuff.
And the first solar. I live in a similar neighborhood right now.
Yeah. Solar power, do you want us to do your lawn? You know, there's a lot of crickets, and they're true, there are a lot of crickets out here. It's like, we can do this, we can do that, you want this, you want that, you want a deck built out there. It's like, I just want to be left alone when I come home from work.
Yeah.
Right? And I've told people, don't come here again, I'm going to shoot you. Right? I've said that, and I know I've said it, it's rude. They're just trying to earn a living, right? There's no need to say that to them. But about 3 weeks ago, there was this young boy, probably about 10. It was pouring. You know how here in North Carolina, it can be real light, or sometimes like, oh, sweet Jesus, this looks like a monsoon, right?
Right.
Well, it was pouring like that. And he's walking from house to house, selling tickets for a raffle for his baseball team.
See, like at that point, you just have to respect the hustle.
Well, and his dad is in a truck trailing him to make sure nobody nabs him, you know?
Right.
It was like, I don't carry cash on me because, like, why would I carry cash?
Right.
Everything's cash. I was running around this house trying to find money. Asked him, how much are the tickets? And he's like, $10. Like, how many do you have left? It's like, I have 3. So I'm running. I was like, do you take euros? It's like, and he's looking at me like, what? You jackass? It's like, how about Colombian pesos? I have all this currency from overseas, right?
Can I give you some Iraqi dinars?
I told him, it's like, hey, I have some Saddam dinars. Would that, like, no. I found $30, and I was notified today, hey, you won the raffle, right? So,
Right.
so it's a rifle, right? This hunting rifle. I'm going to go pick it up, but I'm going to take it, I'm going to sell that, and I'm going to give that money to his baseball team.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool, man.
Because that young man was out in a monsoon
Right.
selling raffle tickets.
Yeah, that kind of heart is hard to find. You know?
It's like I didn't want to open the door.
He could have just waited for the next day when it wouldn't have been raining. But he's like, no, I got to do this.
And so for me, just to, like, opening the door was hard enough, because when people knock, it's like, I don't even want to get up. I don't want to get up. I don't want to go over there. So I looked through the peephole, and I was like, what the hell? I had to look down.
There's no one there.
And I was like, hi, my name is, would you like to buy a ticket for my baseball team? It's like, okay.
Yeah, I'm with you on the, I do not like unannounced visitors. 9 times out of 10, I'm just going to leave you standing on the door no matter. I'll check the cameras. If you have a clipboard in your hand, I'm not going to do that. We deal with a lot of the same thing right now. They flock with the neighborhood. But some of them, you know, some of them I will open the door for. Before I joined the Army, I did a lot of stuff in sales, stuff like that. So, sometimes I like to hear giving the pitch, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'll give them a little critique on the pitch. And some of them are actually really receptive. Some of them are not. You know, I actually ended up setting a meeting with a solar pitch to, selling solar to us. Because his pitch was good. It's really good. I didn't want solar. But I said, sure, I'll take a meeting. I don't want solar. Well, I'll take a meeting. Okay. Anyway.
No, that's great. So, I when I give my briefs, I have to teach like there's a lot of young soldiers in there, right? PSYOP soldiers. Well, PSYOP soldiers are just like SF. They can come straight from right off of the street. They don't have to be in the military for a certain amount of time. So you might have somebody in there who's 20 years old. And when we have our discussions or briefs, they're like, I used to give out the anonymous critique, and I don't do it anymore. It's like, you go off on tangents, and this is like, it's wasting my time. It's like, so I don't, you're 20 years old, and I've heard you in class talking about like, yeah, I just want to get out of here so I can go pound a 6-pack. I don't know if that's really wasting your time, you know? But if you're not like used to just talking about nothing when you're overseas, you might want to get there, because overseas, they're not American, buddy.
Right.
People like to talk about nothing. And like, no, that's not how it is. Okay.
Still look at the guy who's been there and done it already.
And I don't worry about that. And that's the best thing about being retired is like, I'm not paid to be your team sergeant, your platoon sergeant, anything like that. I'm giving you the information. You use it or don't.
Right. That's up to you.
Bon chance.
Have fun. Don't get shot.
Yeah. So we're at about an hour now, and you know, I really want to thank you for coming on. You know, I think guys would. It's hard for people to understand that when they're in the military, there's this idea that like transition is going to be seamless, that there's a line of employers waiting at the gate for them, right? And it's not necessarily true. I had this one E7 42 Alpha who was upset at me because I said, your resume looks good, but you don't have any certifications or education on there. He's like, well, so what? I mean, I've been doing human resources for 20 years. It's like, you've been a secretary for 20 years, buddy. I don't know how to break this to you, but HR in the Army isn't really HR. Like, you process the pay. Like, you might be EO trained, but it isn't necessarily the 42 Alpha that is. It could be anybody in the unit.
Right.
And it's like, if you want me to tell you that you're going to get a job right away, then just tell me that. But if you want like feedback, it's like you need some sort of certification or civilian ed, or just have a good network.
Right. Yeah. And not just your own network, but your network. Yeah. That's the loaded scat is just not what you know. That, you know, that's where so many opportunities come from. People that know. And whatever. You get to a conference, you got to get this card. You know, connect with somebody on LinkedIn 6 months ago. That's what turns you your current job. The more you cultivate those relationships now, the easier they pay off. I would absolutely recommend it. People start building out that network contact before they leave. Whether it's start with it today or later in the year. It's a visualization of the job line, the office, what you need to and other people just like you, more than 100 other people just like you, and how to get that. You don't stand out in there, you're not unique. Provide clear value. You're going to end up on the staff or the circuit environment for them. So yeah. There's a lot of competition.
Yeah, definitely. Me, I'm just trying to ride out the next 5 years, and then, like I said, I'm moving to the South Pacific. I don't know, maybe right now the plan is to just lie out on a beach and have a sign that says, I am not a beached whale, don't try to push me back into the ocean.
You're like Captain Ron.
Yeah.
Giving boat tours. I can see that.
Well, I was thinking of at the ending of the Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah. Stay Wapanejo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that movie, man. I've seen that movie 1,000. Yeah,
I
no, that's,
that line is ingrained in my head. It's like you've come this far. I was wondering if you'd be willing to come a little farther.
no, that's perfect.
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Actually, I just heard a trivia fact about that movie the other day. Is that the question was what 1994 critical success movie only has two women in it, and only one was superhero like five. I mean, it makes sense. It's, the
Yeah.
1930s, and most of the big places have
Yeah, I had never even noticed that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Oh, that's true. There's like one shot of maybe green flag, and then the next one, and yes, I will mail it out for you. That's it.
All right, Tim. So we're at an hour and 6 minutes. So before we sign off, as always, is there any business or anything that you'd like to promote? And do you have any shout-outs for anybody?
I do have a couple of shout outs. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out Chris Harris, crazy. And my beautiful, wonderful wife, Tyler, who puts up with my crazy. She's supportive in everything that I do.
Right. I
And
think
you for having me on. I really appreciate that.
no problem. Like I said, I like having people on here that I think are value added to the veteran community. More importantly, I like having people on here that I trust. Because I've had multiple people reach out. It's like, hey, I want to be on the podcast. Like, I don't know you, bro. Like, what do you like? Wow, I want to talk about this real estate opportunity. It's like, I'm not going to have a veteran lose all of his money because you have some sort of pyramid scheme going on.
Right. Oh, did I mention it's a multi-level market? No, yeah, I really appreciate that. I'm happy I could have been on the studio. I provided some information, valuable insight to somebody, and I'm happy about that.
There are a lot of people out there who are struggling, one, to find jobs, two, struggling with mental health issues, and people are just not ashamed, not too proud. I don't know what the word is, but they're just not seeking assistance. And if you need to seek assistance, you need help in something, just reach out. Like, who cares? Like, why are you going to live in a lower quality of life because you can't figure everything out yourself?
Right, and that's one thing that we really I didn't think about. It's definitely, everybody at some point has some kind of mental health. Yeah, I think it's a really fight for me, I remember there was a specific moment where I was like, oh, well, that just happened. I need to go see talk to but maybe we can have that conversation some other time.
No, hopefully, what I'm hoping for, because I know you were saying you travel a lot, but possibly next time I can have you and Chris on here at the same time.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So, I mean, hopefully Chris remembers the time and the date and he isn't watching whatever, drinking a beer. But so my next guest I'm going to have on, he was actually an instructor at the schoolhouse, at the Sockham Schoolhouse. And I give Mike a lot of credit because he has this class that he gives to everybody who goes through the refresher. Every 2 years you have to go recertify. And he'll give this class on, like, if you have mental health issues, like, go. Right? And he'll tell us the story of, like, how he realized, like, he needed help because he was survived this explosion. And, like, the top layer of skin was burned off of his face, right?
Oh, man, that's, I just got a visual of that.
Yeah, but it was, he said it was like a really bad sunburn. But he said, like, he realized that he needed help. Somebody brought it to his attention. And it's like, so he gives this class and he's like, hey, stupid. And he puts it that way, talking to everybody in the class. Hey, stupid, if you need help, go get it. Right? Then he would tell us, like, he would show us, like, his MOS is 18 Zulu, and then it would have, like, everything. He's like, and he would point one thing out, right? He's like, you see this? That's aerosol. You know how many jobs that helped me get when I retired? 0. Nobody cares about all this junk. It's like, so go to school. If you're not in school, go to school. If you're in school, go some more. It's like, all right, okay.
That's a great point, actually, though. You know, not one of my employers since I left the military was like, oh, you're a paratrooper? Oh, let me give you a raise. No, nobody gives a shit.
So that's, you know, I finished my master's. I was like, okay, I think I'm done. Took about 6 months off, retired, realized I had all this time. I needed to do something, so why not a PhD? And that fills up my time now.
Nice. Congratulations on that.
So, like I said, I told my granddaughter, once I graduate, you're going to call me Dr. Grandpa.
I like that.
And so for my shout-outs, talking about Instagram famous, I joke, my board of directors is my granddaughter and Taco. Taco is a French bulldog from Mexico. My friend's pet, right? Taco has an Instagram page, Tuesday con Taco. Taco has about 17,000 followers on Instagram.
That's frightening.
He's a French bulldog. He's my hero. And I like to give shout outs to Taco every time because he's on the board of directors.
That's fair. That's fair.
I was going to get him a company card, but I didn't know how I could explain to American Express that I needed a card just with the name Taco.
Taco.
Yeah. So I figured better drop it.
Oh, here, feel free to use it if you want to. I know, like, when we were in the 80s thing, you know, we were almost always last year. We used to go by Rod or A-Rod sometimes.
Yeah.
You should call it the Rod Cast.
So everybody who knew me when I was in the military, if I liked you, can continue to call me Rod, right, or A-Rod. They don't want people to have to change all of a sudden. And this is, on one of the episodes I explained this, it's like, I hated that.
Okay.
I hated the butchering of my last name.
You've never said anything about it.
No, because it's like, people are like, man, he's grouchy. It's like, maybe I'm grouchy because I'm holding a lot of shit in. And what I really hated is going overseas or maybe having a first sergeant who would pronounce my name Rodriguez. Well, there's a D in there. And there's a Z, it's not an S. It's like, if you can't pronounce my name, then have somebody else say my name.
Right. We're asking how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Because of the E in my name, I run that always. Diggies, Diggies, you know, it's like, D is silent. And it's not there.
Rodriguez, I got that a lot. Rodriguez, it's like, I'm not Brazilian. It's not Rodriguez. No.
Do I look Portuguese to you?
Yeah,
No.
it's no. So, for everybody who knew me before, that's fine. But now it's either address me as Tony, Antonio, because that's my actual name.
Right.
I had people ask me, why Antonio? Because it's my name. You idiot. Sometimes that comes out loud. I'm trying to say it in my head, but it comes out loud. Or Mr. Rodriguez will work.
Right. No, I'll stick with Tony.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I don't because the shortening of my name was military life.
Right.
And I'm past that.
No, makes perfect sense.
So for everybody out there, just remember you have something that makes you special, makes you unique. Please just, identify what that is, and maximize it to your fullest potential, and I know you'll be successful. Until next time, take it easy. I'm Tony. This is Diggs. Tim Diggs, not Diggies. All right, so we'll talk to you later. Zot, zot, zot. And roll tide.